your life the way it is meant to be. There's only one time when it will be too late, and you don't want to wait for that. This is Now or Never. The choice is yours. Your host is Karen Wright. Today, you're about to meet some amazing people. The stories are not always happy ones, but they define a healing process. Listen with an open mind and an open heart. Now, here is Karen Wright.
Listeners, thank you for joining with us today. Now and never, the choice is yours. And as always, I love it with my listeners that you make the choice to listen to each week's shows that we have. And today we're so excited to have back with us Francoise Netter. She was on our show last month, I believe, a month and a half ago. And I am just delighted that she's back. Our show title today is Motivated by Creativity, Inspiration, and Transformation. So I'm really excited to have Francoise with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, there's always challenges. And with the challenges, I guess we have new opportunities. It never stops.
It never stops, does it? And that is the joy about it. And in this time of unpredicted change and uncertainty, how do we navigate in a way that is life-affirming, both personally and collectively? And that's going to be kind of like our topic today with Francoise and her expertise. She is experienced in the fields of yoga, dance, therapy, creativity, resilience, and stress. And she's been able to offer individuals of all walks of life an opportunity to integrate their creative physically, mentally, and spiritually, and apply it to practical, both professionally and personally. And your passion, motivation that I've experienced with us just talking and things like that is unreal. I just want to say that. I love it. So I'm putting that out there to the universe. It's amazing. Yay. Listeners, as we begin, I would love us just to take an opportunity to get grounded for a moment so we are all leaning in with our hearts. So I invite you to join Francoise and I as we close our eyes and take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. And repeat it again, in through your nose, allowing that breath of life to flow all the way down to your lower abdominals. And releasing. And then bring your hands up around your shoulders, giving yourself a big hug. Take another deep breath in. And releasing. And let's repeat 3 times to yourself. I am worthy of my love. 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 Another deep breath in. Allowing those words to penetrate throughout your entire body as you release it. Sending that love outward. And then tapping your chest 3 times with your finger, repeating the word accept. Accept, accept, accept. Another deep breath in. And releasing. Listeners, I hope you did that with us and that you feel the oneness that we have. As always, I always invite my listeners to lean in with your heart, put the ego behind you. Same with my guests, leaning in with our heart, connecting together, connecting as one, as we motivate each other by our inspiration and learning to transform and helping each other on this journey. Now, Francoise, you know I love my affirmations.
Yes.
And I have our affirmation for today. So I have a new deck of cards. These are called the Now affirmations, designed by me. Aren't they beautiful?
They are.
So I'm super excited to have those right now. And the affirmation for today is, oh, my heck. I trust my intuition.
That's great. What we were going to talk about. All right.
I love how this works because, I never look at them, listeners. I just shuffle them up, and then whatever needs to be is what my card pulls out. So when I read that, I trust my intuition, what came to your mind?
Well, you were going to talk about one of the things that I do is I do spiritual mentoring, and I do it through psychic numerology. And I did a reading for you. And
you did.
And it's been one of the ways. I mean, in my work with people, I've learned many, many decades ago, I asked my master if I could listen to my inner voice. And I always had this intuition for others, but I never had it for myself. And I didn't know how to separate others from me. So I would just take on things as an empath. And when I asked that question, it took a little bit of time for me to learn how to develop that intuition for myself. But it's the greatest gift when you can really integrate that knowledge within. And it's, what I use with others. And, so immediately when I thought about that, because I know you said, I want to talk about my reading that you did for me. And I said, okay, that's one of the things I do.
Yeah, you're very talented, and you have so many gifts. And I want to jump into this. I love this affirmation. I trust my intuition. I believe we all have that gift of intuition. It's, to me, called the sixth sense. And we're all given that opportunity. And to me, it's absolutely wonderful. And as an individual, I love the fact that you asked the higher being, God, the higher light, whatever you believe in, universe, to help you trust yourself. And listeners, you can do the same thing.
Well, what's interesting is sometimes we can't, when we talked a little bit about this last time in terms of COVID in the last 2 years, 3 years, and how many of us, and at different times, we go through the dark night of the soul, and often it appears to come out of nowhere, and it sometimes it blindsides us, even though there are many tools so we don't get blindsided. Sometimes that's just what we go through. And, sometimes we can't see the forest from the trees. So that's when I think we need different tools. And sometimes that means that we engage others to help us and who have an insight and can facilitate that insight for us. But whenever I do readings with others, and I think you notice that, is that it's very important to not tell people what they need to think or do, but to help them really listen to that guidance within. And sometimes that's all we need is a sort of a blueprint of the path in front of us and some tools so that we can find our own truth and our own way. And in all of the work that I do, that's what I aspire to, is to facilitate that path for someone else so that they can hear their own truth, they can hear their own voice, they can hear their own intuition, and then they can take action in that direction with peace and greater integration.
And I love the word integration, because you said that a couple of times already. And the integration to me is so important. How do we integrate in this time, the turmoil? I mean, you just made that comment, sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees, or that's right in front of you. And as we navigate, how can we affirm that personally and collectively? How can we bring that together?
And I think each time there are different tools, how different people need different things. And the same thing with us. Sometimes we need different things. So I always talk about engaging our creativity, engaging our spirituality, but everybody does that differently. For some people, it's going to church. For other people, it's going into nature. I always encourage meditation, For some people, it's walking meditation. So I think what is important is to be open to the tools, to the situations, to the people that can guide us to the next step in our life. And once we get that guidance, then it's up to us to bring it into all levels of our life. One of the things that I've noticed, I was born, as I mentioned last time, I was born in Europe, and I was raised very European, and we would go back and forth, back and forth. And for some reason, one of the good things about the way I was raised is there was always a balance. There was a sense of, balancing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And what I've noticed about America is that everything's separate. When we go to church, then we're spiritual. When we exercise, well, then we take care of our body. When we meditate, oh, that's right, I'm very spiritual again. Or and when we read a book, oh yeah, or I go to school, well, I'm being mental. But how do we bring all those things together? So in a Buddhist way, we walk our talk, right? And that takes the ability to integrate what we hear, what we feel, what we move, to become part of our essence. And I have to remind myself that life is a journey, and it's an onion. And as we peel the onion, we may appear to be peeling the same layers because it's pungent again, but we're really getting to deeper and deeper levels. And so the more that we can be awake and aware of not just sticking things on walls, but allowing it to move into our bodies, our minds, our hearts, and our spirits, and become our new reality. So that's what I mean by integration.
And I love the word movement. And you wrote Movement for the Mind. You wrote a book about that. What does that entail?
So it's Movement for the Mind, dance that awakens healing, inspiration, and wisdom. So at 21, I became a dancer, and it for me, it was all about being able to serve through my creativity. And I also discovered the field of dance therapy. And I created from many decades of work and working with everything from PTSD and thousands of sexual abuse survivors and everyday folk, people in corporations, people in the MBA program at Stanford. One of the great wisdom pieces that we have is our bodies. And in the West, since the Greeks, we separated the mind from the body. Now, today, we know with epigenetics and with neuroimmunology and neuroplasticity and all the research we've done now on the brain, that it's one system. However, we often talk about, well, you've got to talk about your feelings. And much of our therapy has been in what we call the beta brainwave state, which is talk therapy. And yet what we know in science today, that all healing happens in the alpha and even deeper gamma brainwave state. And so the work that I created with movement allows people to experience their feelings safely and to express them non-verbally, and then to transmute and transform them into a new reality. And this all happens because it's not using the beta brainwave, it's using the alpha, or even deeper into the gamma brainwave state. That's where all transformation happens. And that's what my book is about. And there are 4 application chapters: movement as creativity, movement as stress management, movement as psychological healing and movement as physical healing. And it also talks about 50 different people that I've worked with, even though I've worked with thousands, and their experiences of their healing and their transformation. So it's pretty powerful.
It sounds very, very powerful. And I love the fact that you broke it up into 4 different sections, and being able to take those sections for individuals to help them maybe in tune more with what you're saying, with the experiences that you had with other people, and be able to apply it into their life.
Exactly, because they're exercises. So one of the things that even in all the courses I teach, whether it's one-on-one, I always talk about how do we bring it practically into our world. You know, it can't just stay here. And so much of today's technology is all here. And, you know, what I love about some of the people that are my mentors is that we bring it into the body. We bring it into this world. And, you know, that's the great challenge. And yet what is most important in living life, you know, is walking, is dancing that talk.
Right. And when you're dancing, so I'm a dancer, grew up dancing, taught dancing, the whole thing. And I love dancing. I love listening to the music and just letting the body feel and just go. And that is, I call that active meditation, because you're in the zone. And there's different types of active meditation, whether you're dancing, movement, like you said, walking, like water skiing for me, like I get in the zone. And athletes, you know, or people playing the piano, they're in the zone. They're just
exactly
focused in on the one thing, but yet they're moving. They're allowing the yin and the yang to flow together, you know. And to me, that's very important. And I enjoy the fact that you have taken initiative and you have ran with this. And this was back when you were how old when you wrote this book?
I don't know. It's a couple of years. Well, it was at least a decade ago. But
okay,
the most important thing about that work, though, is that even, you know, in the 90s and even the 80s, there was knowledge, not the way there is now, that when we use the senses in a nonverbal way, because that activates the alpha brainwave, which is the creative part of us, which is our child when we're children. It's a slower brainwave state. When we use it consciously, so what I do with movement, nobody has to be a dancer. When I would work with corporate executives and Fortune 500 companies, and I would work with them invoking creativity and changing the platform of their business, and problem solving and solution finding, when I would work in business environments, or if I would work in veterans hospitals with people healing. What you want to do is you use movement as a tool. So I teach a way that anybody can move. I also teach how to have safe boundaries, because when there has been trauma, our bodies are no longer safe. So I teach a very simple way to create inner and outer boundaries and to make the body safe. And then I guide it so that people, it's a very safe way of using movement in a conscious way. So it's not just flailing and dancing to music. It's a conscious intention. So we use a theme, and then that theme, whether it's healing or creativity or feeling your feelings, or it's healing the body physically. And I can give you an example of someone that had found my work. And this is when I was living in California.
Okay, hold on for just a second. Save the story, because we're going to go into break, and we'll be right back after this minute. Thank you.
All right, great job. All clear. Back in a couple minutes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm like going inside.
No, and that's great.
Like,
and then ask about, and then talk about your reading at the end too. Make sure, and then
yeah, we'll go
because I'd love to share about that too.
And so I enjoy the way where you're doing it. Like if you're in a corporate situation, and the theme is teamwork.
Exactly. And so we use movement in a nonverbal way to do that. And I had executives in 3-piece suits from the age of 65 to 30 who would not move, who told their boss that if they had to dance, they would quit the company. They wouldn't care. And they were gushing and they go, how can we do this every day? So I do it it's a very unique form of using movement.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a website, don't you?
Yes, of course.
Do you have videos on the website that people can click on and watch and see how it looks?
I'm trying to find that one that I have. But yes, I do.
Okay.
And I'm going to get more and more of those. And I have a CD that they can do, and they can MP3 it. I have the book on my website. I have another CD on guided visualization, guided meditations, breathing. So all of that.
Perfect.
I have so many resources on my website, which is constantly being redone.
Yeah.
Oh God, it wasn't working the other day and it's being redone because I redid the whole thing. I didn't do it. I, of course, hired. Yes.
That's good.
All right, 20 seconds.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
That's what people tick. Keep listening to the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
You can tell
VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. We have been, oh my gosh, in storytelling mode with Francoise as she is explaining to us about movement. And it's not just turning on the music and dancing like she's explained to us. We right before break, she's talking to us about corporate meetings and going into this huge corporation, and they have a theme. So whether it's teamwork or it's sales, they take the theme and you correlate that with a movement. And it's about safety and things like that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
and you've got stories to tell or examples that I would love you to do that for us right now.
So I'll give 3 examples. One would be the corporate example. So I used to go into a course at Stanford University called Personal Creativity in Business. And it was the most incredible favorite course in the MBA program. And I would always be one of the guest lecturers or the guest presenters there. And so Professor Ray loved my work, and he would and we would do the work all over corporations, Fortune 500 companies. And at the time I was living in the Bay Area, and I had to fly to LA to a Fortune 500 company in Beverly Hills. And the director of the companies, had put all this together. And when Professor Ray went down there, he talked about, or Dr. Ray, when he went down there, he talked about, that we would be dancing and movement in one of the sessions. And so it was only for the VIPs of the company. And they emailed the director and said, look, if we have to dance, we're quitting. We don't care. We will not work here anymore. We will lose our job. So he said, no worries. You won't have to dance. It won't, So I walked in, and at the time I was visiting my brother who lived in Los Angeles. And I walked in with I had a garment bag, and I had a nice pantsuit on, and there was a whole row of executives, and they all had 3-piece suits on, even the women. And they range in age from about 30 to, I think, about 66, 65. Mm-hmm. And they were glaring at me. And I said, oh, hi, it's so good to be here. I heard that there were rumors going around the company that you might have to dance. And oh my gracious. if looks could kill, I would have been dead. And I said, no worries. Oh, please, no worries at all. You know, do you see my garment bag over there? And they all look at me like, yeah, what? And I said, well, I have tutus and I have them in all your sizes. And this was like before there were massive, you know, anybody can dance and, you know,
Right.
Dancing with the Stars. It was before those programs. It was the end of the 90s. And so we went ahead and did it. And as I said, it's very safe. I create a very safe environment, and it's not about seeing anybody else. We do a lot of it with our eyes closed. And the theme that day was creativity in business. It was also problem solving and team building. And at the end of it, I always do a debriefing. So a lot of it's nonverbal. I guide it through music and my voice. And there's no wrong or right move. And at the end of it, we sat in a circle, and the oldest executive looked at me and he goes, oh my God, this was the most amazing thing. How do we do this every day? How do we bring this into our corporate world? And so it was before I'd written my book, but I had a tape, and of course, yeah, they got that. And then there was a time that someone called me. I was living in the Bay Area still in the late 90s, and there were articles about my work in the San Francisco Chronicle and the major newspapers before it was all technological. There was still technology. And a woman called me and said, I'm a doctor's wife and I have fibromyalgia, and I've on every kind of medication, but I read your article about the work you do, and I would love to come in and see you because I've always loved dance. And so she came in to see me. And one of the things that I determined when we were talking, she had been in pain for 10 years and her body had not experienced anything different, no matter how many meds she took. And so I thought, again, this is where the intuition comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, all right, let's get her an experience of feeling joy and feeling ease in her body. So I put on music. I had her close her eyes. We did all the inventory in the beginning. I taught her, you know, that there are no wrong or right moves, and I facilitated it. And I began to use, like you use affirmations, words like joy and fun and play and those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the session was over. I had her bring her back, grounded in her body, reopened her eyes. And I said, how do you feel? And she goes, oh my God, I feel great. I don't have any pain. I'll see you next week. And, you know, made another appointment, left. She calls me. Oh, I think she had to wait 2 weeks. She calls me in the next week. She goes, my body experienced a healing. I have not had pain since I left our session. I really don't need to have a private session, but keep me on your mailing list. I will do whatever you do again. So and then I'll give you one more example. I've worked with, as I said, thousands of sexual abuse survivors. So what happens with sexual abuse is that the body is violated, but it's also the emotions and the mind, and the body's no longer safe because there's the confusion between pleasure and violation. And so the brain gets completely confused in the wire. And I've worked with both men and women in this. And so a lot of it is, and especially if it happens in a nonverbal, you know, when they're very young, or it can happen when you're older, but there's a whole way of feeling it nonverbally. So you're not, you know, reworking it. And then once you feel it, once you've moved through it, you can then, even non-verbally, move it differently. And then it becomes grounded in you and it changes in your life. And so it's pretty extraordinary. Now, am I the one who did all this? No, I facilitate that. And it's the same thing that I do when I do readings for people. I act as a guide for their own healing. And I don't know if this, you know, woman ever, if she lost it forever, but we know that healing can be invoked through that alpha gamma brainwave state. We just need guidance to do it.
And you did a session on me, and I want to kind of talk about that, but I love these stories that you're sharing with the listeners. And listeners, reach out to Francoise. She's got an incredible website page where people can get the CDs or the videos of the movement, the guiding, things like that. Can you explain a little bit about how they can find you and what they can see and set up a course with you and all that good stuff? Because I love this kind of stuff. You know that.
Yeah, and we all need each other.
Right?
We do. So they can find me on my website, which is being redone in many ways. It's www.bodymind with a D, dynamics with an S.org. And there are 2 Ds, bodyminddynamics.org. And I do have the book that the book comes with a CD, so you can actually do the movement right in your own home. It guides you to do that. And then each chapter has exercises that you can do once you know how to do the movement and to guide that safety for yourself. I also have a CD called Redress Your Stress, which has guided meditation, complete breath breathing, which is so important for our healing, and relaxation. And it's all with music and guided. And then I have sessions that you can, I'm giving, because we've been on your show twice now, I want to offer your listeners a 15-minute consultation with me, complimentary, to see what is the next step in your life. And you can browse my website. I have classes, I have online classes, I have weekly yoga classes, I have one-on-one sessions, I have mentoring, I have online classes on resiliency, on stress management, for educators. I love working with K through 12 educators. I actually give them graduate credits in all these kind of classes. So please,
that's important.
Contact me.
Yeah, listeners, do it. Just do it. Like, don't do it now. I mean, the whole show now. Don't wait. It's now or never. Now's the time to do it. And I mean, I was looking at the date today. It's 6/22/2022. 2022. We've got a lot of 2s in our line. A lot. Plus the 6.
Yes. Yes. And it's interesting because those are part of your numbers. The
they
2s
are.
Yes.
Dominant.
You've got the 2s. And, I think, so a lot of people say, well, you do so many things. And I think there used to be a phrase in certainly in Italy, and we all love Italy, and it's the Renaissance woman or man. So it's not about being scattered. It's about using tools that are integrative. And I really do use that word, because most of us, if we have lots of different skills or talents, we're spread in so many directions. So it's not about that. It's about bringing these tools together so they're integrated.
Yeah. And you've done a great job at doing it, because you are well-rounded. You understand, you bring in the intuitiveness of your own being. And you, like you said, you're a vessel. You're here to guide others through their journey. But also, let's open up a little bit about my session with you, because you did a really good job. And I'm going to let you explain it a little bit more so to the listeners. But throughout this session, you would explain and talk, and then you'd be like, Karen, do you have any questions? Or what are your thoughts? And I think that was very important for me, because then it's coming back on me to where it's like, wow, yeah, it was so interesting, because it applies to really how I see things as a person, or how the next person sees, like, how does it resonate with them? And you do a really good job about allowing that person to look inside of them to see how it resonates. And so explain to the listeners a little bit about the session and what it looks like and what you asked for. If you could do that.
Yeah. So a long time ago in 1980, I had a dear friend who had a metaphysical bookstore in Palo Alto, California. And she said, "Oh, we're going to bring in numerology." And I went, "Well, that's a bunch of..." She goes, "Do you want to take the class?" And I thought, hell. And then I went, yes. And I went, what? So what was extraordinary about learning about numerology is it's actually an ancient tool. And it was the great Greeks, including Pythagoras, who was the one who actually created numerology. They understood, the ancient philosophers understood that we were all united by this field that we now call the quantum field. And they used tools to navigate the darkness in the world. And they weren't, I'm a scientist, I'm not a philosopher. I'm a scientist, I'm not spiritual. It was all, there's that word, integrated.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned this blueprint called numerology, and it, for me, was a grounding for being able to use my intuition with the numbers. And what you use with numerology is you use the name on the birth certificate along with the birth date. And it creates, like when you build a house, you have to have a blueprint, right? You have to have an architectural blueprint. And that's what numerology is. So it has numbers on the main part of your chart that are found at all numbers break down from 1 to 9, except for 7 exceptions. And you look at those slightly differently. And and then there are 4 main chapters in your life, along with challenges. And there are 5 main numbers in the main part of your chart, as well as then there are different numbers for the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual planes. There are numbers missing in your name. And then it creates a blueprint so you can look at every year in your life and the influences. And again, this is the influences out there, as well as how they affect you in here. So it's really about the relationship between who you are, your personality, your desires, your career, how your mind works, all of those elements, what's deep inside of you, your proclivities, your talents, your skills. And then it also gives you a framework of what are the outer influences and what happens when you're challenged and what can you do with that. So that's what I tend to focus on, is I give people, here's the blueprint, and then here are your weaknesses, here are your strengths, here's how you can navigate, and then looking at, how we can really illuminate to the best of ourselves. And, that's where guidance really can come in, where we can see, where we can really look at the forest,
Well, and I love numerology because to me, that's how everything was invented,
Wow. Yes.
What
The
God
symbology.
created. Yeah. God created the world, but it's all through numbers. And when when an egg and a sperm come together and the baby forms, first is 1 cell, and then it breaks into 2, and then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and 7, and 8. And they're down here at the bottom of your spine, like your sit bone. So you have the 8 cells right there. And we know the 8 is infinity sign.
We learned about
the 8. And so I just, anyway, I've been thinking a lot about that, and we're going to go into break, but when we come back, we're going to kind of open up about, and I'm being very honest and vulnerable here, you guys, about my reading, because I want you guys to understand that this is very important, and you can have this done, and it will open up even more so, maybe questions or concerns that you have, or understanding you as an individual. So when we come back, we are going to open up about my reading. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, excellent. Segment all clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that whole thing about the cell, and then it breaks in half,
Amazing.
and then 3/4.
Amazing.
I just learned that. Well, I've been a couple of weeks ago. I went to a shaman class, and she was talking about that, how it breaks into the 8 cells, and out of those 8 cells forms the body. And I'm correlating the numbers and the infinity sign, the 8. I'm like,
And
how
the 8.
beautiful.
Wow.
How beautiful that is. You know, because the 8 is what's above and what's below.
What's below. And it's like that law of attraction, if there is really one. And, you know, the other thing that you're really bringing poignantly for me is how much we got isolated in COVID and how some of us just felt so alone. Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Mhm.
And how much, you know, how important it is to communicate and to learn from each other and to, you know, really work together, because we learn so much from each other. It's so, so vital.
Yeah.
Especially at this time.
Well, there's a lot happening. So this will be our last break, and then we close the show after our little segment. So do we want to dive into my reading a little bit?
Sure, we can, and then let people know how to you know, how to contact me again. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that we may be doing and to let us know, because we may be doing a retreat in 2023.
Right.
All right, 12 seconds.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
This is the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. Today's title is called Motivated by Creativity, Inspiration, and Transformation. And we have been speaking with Francoise Netter, and she is an expert on this. Right before break, we were talking about numerology and how she was at first not very excited about it, but she learned about it and she has grown to love it. And we talk about numerology, and during break, I made a comment. It's like, God created the world in numbers. Everything's atoms and electrons, and everything's like, you break them down and everything has little numbers next to it. And the importance of numbers and what it's like. And Francoise does readings with your birth date and your name on your birth certificate. And she explained a little bit before we went into break about it and how it works. And I did a reading with her a couple of weeks ago. And I am going to open up this session with her explaining a little bit about my reading and what happened. You good with that? I'm totally good with it.
Okay.
I'm opening up my life to the world. I do that anyway, but I'm just saying, hey, listeners, you're in for a treat.
So what do you remember that you'd like me to exemplify?
Oh, let's talk a little bit about what my numbers, like number 9, number 8, first number 8, because that was that had to do with one of my top numbers, I believe.
No. Oh yeah, you're right. See, I got to put on my glasses to see up close and personal.
And I'm like, well, maybe I forgot.
No, you're right. You have so the 8 is on our birthday. It's the addition of your birthday, and so it's that ability of you, Karen, to be incredibly self-motivated. No one needs to tell you what to do. And the 8s are always thinking, doing. They're always in tomorrow. If it didn't happen yesterday, it happened too late. So and it's really important to balance. The 8 is the number of the law of attraction. So above, so below. So we talked about the infinity. And then I thought it was really interesting that you said that you had learned that when embryos, they start to reproduce and with the number of 8.
Mhm.
So, but numbers that are really important for you too are the number 2, the number 1, and the number 9. And it's a real combination for Karen about her feminine, about this very soft, beautiful feminine. And also the 1 and the 8 are more of masculine numbers. They can be very strong. They have to find their own pathway. And so for you, and the 9 is all about compassion and empathy and a lot of creativity and drama. And so again, these are just tools or blueprints, but then what happens with that? What are our challenges? How do we, when the world comes in and is there, what do we do with it to grow? And I think one of the things, as I do readings, I always learn something myself because I channel. I also use it as a vehicle to use my intuition in ways that I just get out of the way. I don't know how I do it or how it happens. I just imagine source works through me, this universal energy. But what's amazing is that, and this is something that I want to remind myself and anybody else listening, is what happens when things are right there that we feel like we're pressed against a wall, or our nose are pressed and we can't seem to move and we have no control in our life. And how do we navigate those times to get to the best of what that situation is wanting to reveal us towards? And I think that when I do readings, that when we get to that place, it can illuminate what is the gift in all the challenge. And you have one of the most challenging numbers, because you're one of the main numbers in your chart, which is your ultimate purpose, is a 1.
Yes.
And in the last starting I think that
2018.
12 years ago,
14.
That ultimate purpose is also on your challenge. So the very thing that you have come in to actualize is in your face. So that's the hard part, right? The great part of that is that you got to do it.
Yeah, I love it.
So what does that mean? So the 1 is, so Karen's really unique. She's got, the 1 is a standalone sign. It's and for women who are boomers or older, women, it was really difficult for women. I know we talk about the Me Too movement, we talk about the suffrage, we talk about, a woman in the US finally becoming the vice president, but for women still, it's like there was this model of dependence. They were the ones that support others. And so and women today and girls are learning how to be all these other things. But, when we look at some of the movies from the 50s and the 60s and even the 70s and the 80s, women were, they were taught to be teachers. They were taught to be nurses. They were taught to be supportive. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's so important for us to support each other, to integrate that masculine, feminine. But so Karen has the 2s, which is the ultimate support, which is the feminine, which is all about cooperation, which is all about negotiation, which is all about saying the right thing so you don't hurt anyone. It's all about sensitivity. So it's very, in that way, it's the feminine, right? generically. And she also has as her ultimate purpose, the one, which stands alone, which has to talk directly. The two will talk and all they say the nice things. The one goes, no, man, I hate that subterfuge. I'm going to tell you like it is. You don't like it? Too bad. So in some way, it's the opposite. And yet, one of the most important things for Karen is to integrate both the feminine and the very strong ability to stand on her own, be unique, and voice her own truth in a way, because of the two, that is diplomatic, without doing this or going, oh, I can't do it, which is that passive part. But to make it more complex, it's not just, okay, I'm going to integrate it. All's fine. You know, I'm going to go off on my own now. It's time for me to finally do my ultimate purpose. I'm unique. I can do this. But she has a one challenge for the rest of her life. So it is for you, Karen, that ability to navigate those seas in ways that sometimes you have no idea what you're doing. And other times, as long as you align with your inner self and you go, wait a minute, people are telling me what to do. I keep attracting these very, very controlling human beings around me who are telling me what to do. And they're telling me I can't do it. So the tendency for the one challenge would be to get the F out of my face, or no, they're right, I can't do it. And instead, Karen is learning how to integrate this beautiful, I mean, just look at her. She's so feminine, so beautiful in a positive way. I'm not saying that, you know, that men can't be feminine either, but I'm talking about, you know, the paradigms of feminine and masculine. And so that Karen can learn how to use this beautiful softness that she has, this gentleness, along with her dynamic knowledge of being unique and bringing that to the world. And this is your challenge and your path for the rest of your life. It's your journey. And sometimes it's hard to integrate, and other times you just get it.
Yes. I love that. Before we end, so listeners, now you know what I'm like. Now you know what I have to deal with me all the time, 24/7, but I love it.
But you did know this. It's just that there was a clarity, I would assume, that I brought to light so that you could really now know there was nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is that when she was explaining this, all of this to me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Or that makes sense. Like things were like flashing in front of me, like, oh, okay, now I know why I am who I am and why I react or act the way I do. And I'm aware of it. And to me, awareness is so important in life, because I know my journey, I know where I'm going, and just allowing it to happen instead of trying to say no. I've learned to, and I have learned this, when something is hard and I'm hitting my head against the wall, I step back going, okay, I'm not supposed to be doing this right now. And I've learned to become aware. Do I still hit my head? Yes, but not as long. I'm getting quicker to go, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And the journey continues to move forward. Listeners, I want you to reach out to Francoise. She is amazing at what she does. And just knowing things, knowing the blueprint, knowing what you're going through, how to integrate it all together with movement and with your body, with the feelings, with the emotions, without using the words like we have been taught to. Truths are important. I get it. And speaking our word is important. Our truth, so important, but it has to go along with our feelings, which is the movement part. How can people get a hold of you? Share that with us one more time.
So probably the best way, and they can message me on my website. They can contact me by phone, by email. It's www.bodymindDynamics with an S, 2 Ds, bodymindDynamics.org. And again, I want to offer your listeners a consultation, a 15-minute complimentary consultation to see what would be best for them, whether it's a reading or a session or a class. And, whether it's movement or stress management or meditation or yoga or a clairvoyant numerology reading or any of those things. We all need tools today to navigate our lives and to integrate that navigation into something that we all desire, right? I mean, it's the one thing I know we only have a little bit of time, but one of the things that is so interesting is that we all seek joy. We all seek happiness. We all seek these fun things. And when we go through the dark times, how do we come out of it? And how do we reclaim our joy and our birthright?
And we've talked a little bit about this, but listeners, COVID set a lot of us into a state where we were by ourselves. And through the tools that Francoise has, she's a carpenter. She's going to help you with tools. And if one doesn't work, then she has another one to help you. And I want you to remember this. Our affirmation today was, I trust my intuition. So follow your intuition with how you feel and how you felt through this program today. Remember the breath is a gift of life. Now,
and also let your listeners know that we may indeed do a retreat together. So
yes, we will be.
Contact Karen about the retreat we're going to plan for 2023.
Here we go. So listeners, remember, this world is not for sissies. We're here to experience our own journey as we each walk our own personal path. Have an amazing day, and thank you for choosing to be here now. Until next week, sending you all love and light.
All right. Terrific job today. Good show. We're all clear.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep. All right. I'm going to jump out to the next recording show, but you all have a great one.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Francoise. That was amazing.
That was great. You want to close the recording and we'll say goodbye to everybody?
Yes. Say bye.
Look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.
Okay.